This is Dave Buggy with Behringer Associates, and if you are here to talk about CRM and wholesale distribution, you found yourself in the right spot. So once again, thanks for taking the time out to join us this afternoon. I think we have a real good presentation lined up for everybody with some great information as well as product demonstration on the Microsoft CRM solution that we offer for wholesale distribution. So just a few housekeeping notes. This is GoToWebinar that we're using, and you should have a GoToWebinar client that looks similar to what's on the screen here. And just a couple of notes. One is that you are in listen-only mode, just to minimize the audio distractions throughout the presentation. So if you would like to ask a question, in the bottom here, there is a box. Feel free to type in your question there, and we'll certainly be addressing those as we go along. And we'll leave some time at the end for questions as well. If you'd like to get more screen real estate, in other words, make the presentation a bit bigger, you can click this orange arrow here. That will minimize the GoToMeeting client into just a tiny little box. And before you do that, you might want to click the full screen button here. It's a circle with a square in the middle. Another way to get our attention as you go through the presentation is to click on the Raise Your Hand button, and normally that is used in combination with asking a question. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am Dave Buggy with Behringer Associates. A few of you would like to welcome some of our existing customers as well as those of you that might not know entirely who we are at Behringer, but nonetheless, welcome to everybody. As I said, I'm Dave Buggy with Behringer, do a lot of work here within our CRM practice, and a few of you I know have attended some other presentations, so welcome back. Just a little bit about our background here at Behringer Associates. We're proudly celebrating 20 years in business this year, which dates me a little bit, but we began as a technology consulting firm specifically for wholesale distribution. And back in those days, the internet was just coming to life, in a broader sense here in business, and did a lot of consulting on inventory and AR and AP and things like that, and very quickly grew to providing solutions that surround your ERP system, and Microsoft CRM being one of those solutions that integrates with or surrounds your ERP technology. We also, in addition to CRM, have two other practices in our business. We have a network services practice where we provide IT services to businesses across the country, and all the way up to and including being able to offer full IT services where we become your IT department. And another area of our practice is on the unified communications and telephony side. So voice over IP, unified communications, which we're actually going to take a look at an example today of unified communications with Microsoft Lync. So we'll give you a little bit of perspective on what that does and the value to unified communications in a business. We are a Microsoft Gold certified solutions partner, and that is a pretty difficult level to achieve with Microsoft. It is the top of their partner channel, and demonstrates the strong commitments that we've made to being one of the best CRM partners in the country. We're also nominated by Microsoft as their industry partner for wholesale distribution due to our extreme depth of expertise in providing CRM solutions to the distribution space that goes back over 12 years now. So we have lots of experience in deploying CRM solutions in distribution, bring a lot of great best practice information and guidance to a project, to a CRM project within a distributor. And I think you'll get some of that from our presentation today. And just a little bit about how we approach a CRM project, starting with the project planning and needs analysis phase of the project, which is extremely critical. And I usually liken that to building a house or a building, where you're going to start with envisioning what does that building need to do for you, and getting a blueprint created so that when it gets built, it's much easier for everybody to work off that single plan. And project planning for one of these projects essentially does the same thing. It really maps out business processes and how the CRM system is going to enhance or support those business processes, all the way down to technical details in the project. What data is being migrated, and workflow designs and dashboards and things like that. And then moving into an implementation role where we're actually executing the work that's defined in that project plan and making that system come to life in working with people from your team, from your project team along the way. Providing any customization. Training is all specific to our clients' organizations. We really don't do any public CRM training. It's all based on your implementation and using your business processes throughout that training. And once go live takes place, then we fall back to a post-go live or post-implementation support role. We have a large help desk here at our office in New Jersey, staffed with people that are very familiar with the Microsoft CRM product and even your implementation that will support you following go live of the solution. So just a quick look at the agenda, and I won't read this verbatim, but we're going to start with looking at why do distributors need a CRM solution. We've developed some real key kind of hot points that we've realized over the years of working with distributors as to why they're looking to this technology. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Microsoft CRM platform overall. I'm going to talk about ERP integration, which is typically a very important point in implementing CRM for a distribution business. Talk about the Outlook user interface, and then down into some scenarios where we'll demonstrate how this technology can really help your business sell more effectively and be more efficient overall. All right, so why do typical distributors find themselves looking for a CRM solution? A couple of interesting points here. One is that greater than 50% of distributors right now have no formal sales and marketing system in place. And I would add on to that we find in a lot of cases that they don't have formal sales and marketing processes in place either. So they're really missing not only the technology, but the formal process by which things are handled. So when a lead comes into the business, how is it distributed to a sales rep? What time frame do they have to follow up on it? What information do they need to collect to profile that lead or prospect, and so forth. So I think there are two ways to look at this, right? One is that you certainly have some opportunity here that if you don't have a CRM system in place, then you're going to be in that 50% that do if you implement. And the flip side of that is that 50% of the time you are probably competing with companies that do already have this technology in place and off the ground. We also find that ERP systems typically don't have great CRM functionality. So they're really meant to run in the back office portion of the business. And they typically do a fantastic job of handling things like inventory and product movement and purchases, invoicing customers and so forth, but really don't have a whole lot of functionality for the front side or the customer-facing side of the business. We also find with the average distributor that data is spread throughout the entire organization. So if you take just a moment and think about where all the places that you have customer data throughout your organization, I'd be willing to bet that you'll come up with at least 5 different major areas where you have customer data. Now that could be your ERP system, could be in Excel spreadsheets, could be an Access database here or there, everybody's Outlook contact lists, maybe you have some other Salesforce automation products running around the company, mobile devices, and so forth. So that makes it very, very difficult to do a lot of the things that people want to do today, such as centralized marketing, better reporting, and so forth. It also makes it very difficult to retain information when there's turnover within the business, particularly on the sales side of things. So if the salespeople are left up to their own imagination in terms of how to manage customer and prospect information, unfortunately, there's no centralized control over that. So when there's turnover, a lot of times that data, unfortunately, goes with the turnover. Also, multiple customer and prospect touch points and trying to get a handle on getting everybody on the same page. It's very common in distribution that you have inside teams and outside teams, maybe even some service teams involved, and they're all touching customers. Even people in your accounting department are touching customers. So getting a centralized system where all those customer touch points are documented and giving the power of collaboration and centralized reporting and so forth. Interestingly, we also find that in a lot of cases, and I'm going to venture to say here even more than not, it's common that the outside sales team does not have direct access to the ERP system. In a lot of cases, they're not even licensed to use the ERP system. So they're out doing the sales thing and meeting with customers and prospects and talking about all this stuff that lives in the ERP system, quotes and orders and expedites and things like that, where they don't have direct access to that type of information. So what we find is that when there's an inquiry from a customer, they're typically calling or maybe emailing into somebody in the inside group. And now you've got a second person involved in this query from the customer, maybe just to find out where an order is. So pretty inefficient by today's standards. And in the system that we're going to show, it's very, in fact, it's a routine that the outside sales team, this is their solution for how they run their day. And having the ERP information flow into that tool, the CRM tool, gives them just a tremendous amount of power and capability. We also find that there's still a lot of manual and paper-based processes that are happening in distributors today. So from call reports and manual spreadsheets that are tracking pipeline and things like that, even RMAs and so forth, are being handled via paper forms. And don't think anybody would argue that largely that's probably not the most efficient way to handle things with technology offerings out there such as CRM. And certainly streamlining a lot of that and automating it in the CRM system. So a couple of other things that we definitely feel people should be thinking about as they think about CRM as a whole is your process side. So talking about sales, defining some sales processes. What has to take place on a best case scenario for you to either bring on a new customer and take them through the steps, to placing a first order, or even repeat business from an existing customer. So to give some thought to those, because while CRM technology is just fantastic at supporting those things, in and of itself, it typically doesn't define the process for you. And that's something that we help work through with you in the upfront project planning engagement that we do prior to implementing CRM. Again, back to automating manual and paper-based processes. Salespeople, the biggest thing that we can give them is more time. And if we can offload some of the things that they're currently doing that's taking a lot of their time, like dealing with paper-based forms, then we're certainly giving them back a great asset to them, which is more time to sell. And trying to get to a more centralized database of customer and prospect information. If we're going to have an ERP system integrated with CRM, it's not one single database, but because it's integrated, it's almost one single database, or can be very near one single database, and a lot of benefits to that. Today, certainly every lead or prospect that we interact with in business is critical. Lead flows, I think, are largely down, across the board, and the cost to achieve new prospects is up. So every one that we get, we want to make sure that we have a good process and a good system in place that we're maximizing every one of those potential new customers that we interact with. Collaboration between inside sales and customer service or outside sales. It's funny, I've walked into a couple of distributors where it was common knowledge within their customer base that they could call somebody, whether it be an outside salesperson or an inside salesperson, and get a quote on an item. And they would simply hang up and redial until they got somebody else and get a completely different price on that same item. So this is where the collaboration piece, and that's just one example, certainly I think there's a lot of value if you're an outside salesperson in maintaining the relationship to know when there's activity with that customer at the inside level or at the customer service level, all the way up to maybe even needing to know when there are invoice or payment issues with one of your accounts. So utilizing technology like CRM to collaborate more effectively across your teams and get everybody on the same page. We hear a lot today that distributors really want to get to a more accurate look at profitability of their customers. So it's not all that hard to determine gross profit right? Because that's just simply what you buy an item for and then what you sell the item for, and the delta then is your gross profit. But being able to look a little bit deeper at that and determine, how many times you're servicing that customer. Do they ask for a lot of returns? If you're providing any type of item or product support, how often are they utilizing that support to get a much better idea of overall profitability of your different customers. Marketing is definitely a big topic, and today, to be effective, the more targeted that you're able to be with your marketing, the more success that you're going to get. So there used to be some statistics that on general marketing, you'd get a couple of % response rate. And if you think about, your own daily life and how much email that you get, the pendulum has swung from having your mail or your desk full of mail. It's now swung to where your email box is stuffed and you're getting less direct mail. So in the marketing efforts that you're doing, it's so important to be able to get as targeted as you can. And having the transactional data flowing in from the ERP system to CRM is going to give you a tremendous amount of marketing capabilities. So maybe you want to execute some campaigns around certain product lines or certain vendor lines, certain product groups, and having that transactional data in CRM is certainly going to enable you to do that, and to do that on a much more targeted basis. Also, looking for ways to cross-sell. I don't think anybody would argue it's typically easier and less expensive to get additional business out of an existing customer than it is to go out and acquire a brand new customer. So being able to look at things like product lines that certain customers buying and where there's gaps there. And if they're buying one product line and not another, being able to utilize that data to do some cross-selling. Improving quoting follow-up, and I think right behind that is pipeline in general. So as quotes are being produced, having a good system for follow-up, in a system like CRM, so that we can make sure that every quote that's going out is getting decent follow-up, and that the pipelining is happening as well for management, so they can kind of look down the road 30, 60, 90 days and see what the overall health of sales looks like. And then all up, kind of improving reporting and analysis. Again, your ERP system is typically going to be providing you with some great analytics, but again, based mainly on that back office transactional type of data, where we're now going to look at this from the front end and blend in that back office transactional data, right? So giving you really good reporting and business intelligence at the customer-facing side. We did an implementation for a very large local industrial supply company, Deacon, and I always like to use this comment because the CEO there, after analyzing the implementation, provided us with this comment, and what he said was that they've seen FaceTime with their clients at least double after implementing Microsoft CRM. So it goes back to talking about what can we give sales to help them sell more, and barring giving them signed purchase orders, which I don't think any of us can do, it's really giving them back time so that they can go and drive more business. So that was a very good comment from a customer that we did an implementation for. On this whole topic here, some of the background and statistics and facts and figures about CRM and distribution, we did a great webinar series where we partnered with a company called CSO Insights. And they research companies, and they have a micro study on distribution, which is where we partnered with them. And they study sales trends within businesses. So they're looking at a business, or looking at an industry like distribution, and they're surveying a couple thousand companies about things like, are you using CRM, and where are you finding the benefits, and down to a pretty micro level. So we have a two-part webinar series that's recorded up on YouTube that you can go to and watch. I would highly recommend it. It's great content, really helps solidify why you need a CRM solution, and really kind of what are some of the benefits that you can expect to achieve as a result of that investment. I don't expect you to jot down that entire URL. We can certainly either email that to you, or if you just go to YouTube and you type in our channel, which is Behringer ASSOC. So it's BERINGER ASSOC. Then you'll find our channel with lots of great videos, and the CRM-enabled distributors series is out there in 2 different parts. And again, if you'd like a link to that, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get it out to you. So what we offer is a great piece of technology built on Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and that is Microsoft's customer relationship management system. And we took that phenomenal solution that they offer in a much more horizontal fashion, solves the needs of CRM in a lot of businesses, and we tailored it specifically for the distribution industry. So it looks and feels like it was, developed specifically, which it was, for use within a distribution company. So a couple of things that we typically cover in that solution is sales call and expense tracking, the customer profitability analysis that we mentioned, doing some vendor relationship management, analyzing sales history, pipeline forecasting and quote follow-up, and so forth. So what we're going to be taking a look at today is that overlay to Microsoft CRM that we have developed here at Behringer. And again, there are some great videos out on YouTube on this solution. One that was produced by Microsoft is about 8 minutes long. You'll see a lot of that today, but if you wanted a little bit more, that's a great place to go. So let's talk just for a moment about the ERP integration. I can tell you from many years of experience that this is one of the areas of a CRM project at a distributor that drives the greatest return on investment, as well as driving the greatest end user adoption. So what I mean by this integration is typically having the ERP system synchronizing data over to Microsoft CRM. And that would include data like customer data. So having CRM kind of replicate your customer information from your ERP system. So there's no duplicate entry and there's no duplicate management of that information. All the way down through all the transactional data, such as orders and sales history and invoices, over into your product information and your inventory, and so forth. Now, depending on what ERP backend that you use, we've worked with most of the big ones out there. Which one you have will depend on whether that integration is one-way or bidirectional. So in some cases, that the data only flows from the ERP system into Microsoft CRM, and nothing is written back to the ERP system. In other back-end ERP systems, they give us the capability to write back to the ERP system. So really, again, it just depends on which flavor of ERP that you have. And like I said, we've worked with most of them that are out there. In terms of the data getting from one side to the other, there's typically some middleware in between that's connecting those two systems together, and it's pushing the data from one side to the other and potentially back. And again, that'll depend on what specific ERP system that you're running in the background. So for a moment, let's just talk a little bit about Microsoft CRM and give you a brief background about Microsoft CRM. I can tell you that Microsoft developed this product from the ground up. It's about 7 going into its 8th year, and it's into, let's see, into its 4th going into 5th major version. So it is a product that they developed rather than one that they acquired. They do offer the product both in an online or cloud-based use or in an on-premise fashion. So the online or cloud-based is the subscription or software as a service offering, where you're typically paying a per user per month fee to utilize that software, and that is a perpetual payment that goes on forever as long as you're using the product. The on-premise offering is the traditional software purchase, where you're buying the licensing up front and you're installing and maintaining that software somewhere in your enterprise, somewhere on servers, either in your building or in a data center. The differences between those are largely financial. So looking at it and netting out what it costs you for maybe a 3 to 5 year usage scenario between the online pay per user per month and what it would cost you to actually own the product. So there's some different scenarios there. You have to take into account, that on the on-premise side, you do need hardware, and there are some system requirements like the back-end database, Microsoft SQL Server, and then the maintenance of those servers and that going forward. Where with the online version, that's all hosted up at Microsoft, so you're not having to worry about any servers or really any IT infrastructure whatsoever. They even back up the system for you and maintain it. So certainly can talk with you one-on-one more about those different options and the pros and cons of each. So in the Microsoft CRM product, one of the benefits to the Microsoft product is that it is not an a la carte based system. So you get everything for one fee. And just to give you an idea, in the online product, it's about $44 per user per month. And in the on-premise scenario, it's about $1,000 per license to own it. Now there are some great incentives in the market that we're going to talk about towards the end that would reduce those costs fairly significantly for you. But just to give you an idea, that's kind of where it's at. But in either scenario there, in either deployment scenario, you get all of the features of the product in that base cost. There aren't really any options at all from Microsoft. There are some third-party products that go along with Microsoft CRM that are optional. And if I do talk about any of those, I'll try and point those out to make sure you understand where a third party is involved and where it's not. One of the major value propositions with the Microsoft solution is its full integration with Microsoft Outlook. Now, if you're not using Outlook, that's okay. There's a full browser version available to the system as well as mobility as well. But if you are an Outlook shop and you're using Microsoft Outlook daily for email and collaboration, Microsoft CRM will fit right into Microsoft Outlook. So you're, again, then being able to use Microsoft Outlook for not only what you're using it for today and email and so forth, but all of your CRM functionality is right there too. And the benefit to that is really on the training and the end user adoption side. Because users would already be familiar with Outlook, we're just training them on some new features that they're using within Outlook. So to the user, it really just looks like we've kind of enhanced Microsoft Outlook rather than implementing this whole new tool called CRM. Also, because they're already familiar with that, the learning curve is typically a lot flatter, and the end user adoption rate is typically a lot greater. And if you are a Microsoft Outlook shop today, it's probably, if not the top thing that you open first thing in the morning, it's certainly up there in the top 3, I would bet. So it just makes sense to have that CRM functionality in that tool that you're already spending a lot of time in today. So being a Microsoft product and integrating with Microsoft Outlook, certainly the ease of use factor is pretty great. Everybody here probably uses one Microsoft product, even if it's just Excel or Word. And CRM looks and feels just like any other Office application today. So very familiar user interface. And then the ability to take all this on the road in a mobile format. Most people today have some type of mobility device, whether it be a smartphone, a tablet, or even a laptop being a mobility device. And being able to take all this great functionality on the road with you is certainly very important today. So let's talk for just a moment here about the Microsoft Outlook integration. And I'm going to pull this up in a moment, so I won't spend a whole lot of time here. But on the right there is a screenshot, kind of shows you what the Outlook interface looks like. So this is a traditional Microsoft Outlook program, and we're sitting on the sales opportunities, and you can see that all that is happening right inside the Microsoft Outlook client. So you don't need to leave Outlook to do any of the things that you're going to do in CRM. So there are some fantastic integration areas. Email integration is one that we'll talk about. Having your calendar integration and task management and all that done right from within the Outlook client is very productive and very powerful. And like I said, I'll pull that up and actually show that to you here in a moment. So I mentioned there are mobility options available for Microsoft CRM. Microsoft includes a mobile client in their system, so there's no extra charge. It is a browser-based client, so you have to be online with a data type of connection to be able to utilize that. There are also a couple of other third-party applications that are optional that would make that a little bit more powerful. They include an offline client, for example. So if you're a person that ends up in an area where you don't have any data connectivity, then the offline client for your mobile devices might be valuable to you. And typically, the third-party products also have a bit deeper user interface for each device. So if you're on an iPad and using one of the third-party options available for Microsoft CRM, that application looks and feels like any other application that you run on the iPad, rather than just using it through a browser interface. So we'll talk a little bit about that going forward here, but if you'd like a specific demonstration of that, we can certainly queue that up and deliver that to you and show you the different options for mobility. One thing I would like to point out is that any data that we integrate into CRM, in other words, your ERP data being one of the larger data sources that we would integrate, all of that would be available to you on the mobile device. So you can imagine how powerful it would be for a sales rep to walk into a client, and maybe before they walk in, they're sitting in the parking lot, they crank up their mobile device, and they get a real nice summary of what's been going on with this client. Again, all the way down to things like what orders are open, what have they bought over the last couple months, are there any AR issues happening currently with this customer, and so forth. And then being able to, as they leave that client, log in from their mobile device and do some updates. So maybe update the notes from the appointment that they were at and queue up any follow-up activities that they need to get queued up for other people on their staff. Very, very powerful in terms of mobility today. So I mentioned there's also a web browser front end to Microsoft CRM. You don't have to use Microsoft Outlook. There is definitely some benefit there in functionality that we'll talk about, but you can access the entire system through a browser. In December, Microsoft started releasing the cross-browser support. So prior to that, it was Internet Explorer only. And they've extended that to include Apple Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox, and I believe there's a few others. So if you're used to using one of the other browsers other than Internet Explorer, then Microsoft CRM has support for that in CRM Online today. And just as a disclaimer there, it's not yet completely made it down to the on-premise version of CRM. We expect that really any time now. But it is available today in the CRM Online or the hosted solution. So let's jump out of PowerPoint. I'm sure everybody's seen enough slides in their day. So I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to go over here to my demo system. So give me just a second to get that pulled up here. Okay. So we are here in Microsoft Outlook. So I've got some email up in here. I'm just sitting in my inbox, and this is a demonstration system, so it is not live data, but will serve quite nicely for our presentation today. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is that the email linking that happens automatically within Microsoft CRM. So as your users are communicating by email, you can set options so that their emails are being pushed up into the history of records in Microsoft CRM. And the way that that works is, by default, it does it by email address. So if I started typing in an email address here, and I go to send that email, it's going to look for a record in CRM that has that email address. And if it finds it, it's going to take a copy of this email, and it's going to put it into the history of that record in Microsoft CRM. So, and it does that automatically. So that's nothing that anybody has to do manually. It just happens in the background. But you can also link emails to records in CRM manually. So John Morehouse happens to be on my staff, and if I was sending John an email about a customer's quote, then it may not make the best sense to let that go into the history of John Morehouse's record. It should go in the history of either the customer or the quote or both. Well, you can certainly do that. So all I'm going to do is tell this email that I want it to push into the history of CRM, and I'd like it to go into the history of a specific quote that is in CRM, which ultimately came from the ERP system. So let's do this top one here. It's quote 100419. So I'll just put a simple subject in here. And I'll go ahead and hit send. So what happened there is that as I sent that email, it created a copy of that email underneath the quote in CRM, as well as that being available at the customer level as well. So I think that quote was 100411. I could be wrong about that. All right, well, let's go back to all quotes here, and I'll find it. So like I said, what is happening there is it's taking literally a complete copy of that entire quote, and it's putting it in the history of the record that we selected, which in this case is a quote that I seem to be having a little difficulty remembering which quote I linked it to. I should have wrote that down. Apologize for that. But I think I can find it by name here. Okay, maybe not. Well, we'll do that over again. But essentially, what happens is that the quote will get linked up to, or I'm sorry, the email will get linked up to the quote. So when you open the quote, and again, I'm doing this right from within Microsoft Outlook. I'm opening a quote that was pushed down from the ERP system. Over here, under closed activities, is where that email would show up as a completed activity. So there would be an actual copy of that email that would show up in the history of that activity. And then in addition, because a quote is linked to a customer or a potential customer, then even though it's linked directly to the quote, when you move up one level to the customer, then that email would show up at the customer level as well. Now again, I mistakenly didn't document what quote we chose to link it to, but it would show up in here just like any other history item. It would just it would be an email. Okay. So very, very powerful email linking functionality. I find that very powerful myself, something I use on a daily basis. And again, you can have it set so that it just tries to link emails automatically based on the email address. So as you send out an email or even receive an email, it's going to look for a corresponding record in CRM, and it's going to try and link that email up to that corresponding record if it finds it. One thing I forgot to mention is that any replies that happen to that email automatically get linked back up to the same exact record. And I know how I can find the quote. If I went into the email, I'm going into my sent email here that I sent John. You'll notice that when an email is linked up to something in CRM, it creates a real nice hyperlink right in the email to the record that it's linked to. So it's telling me that this email that I sent is regarding quote number 1000419. And right from the email, I can click on that, and it takes me right to the quote. Okay? And if I look here under closed activities, we see a copy of that email. And it's literally a replicate copy. So you can completely delete that out of Microsoft Outlook, and it will remain in the history of that, that quote in the CRM system. So pretty powerful. Let's go ahead and close that out. And we'll go back here to our main CRM interface. So a couple of other great things in here is that because this is all happening from within Microsoft Outlook, I'm in my inbox, and maybe I want to jump down and I want to look at my sales opportunities as a salesperson. So with one click now, I am now in the sales opportunities area of Microsoft CRM, or in this case, Outlook. And as I'm looking at my opportunities here, I've got some color coding happening here, typically to demonstrate things like maybe opportunities that are older than they should be and haven't had an update. So if I see this Foster Wheeler opportunity here and I decide I want to follow up on that, I can simply take that and drag it over to my calendar in Outlook and drop it. And that would create a task for me to follow up on that opportunity at whatever day that I dropped it onto. So it really demonstrates this really tight integration between the CRM functionality and Outlook. So if I right-click on this, I get the same standard Outlook options like follow-up here that I would as if I was right-clicking on an email. So it's completely and fully integrated. Another item here with the Outlook integration is that I really never need to leave Outlook to do any of the functions that I would normally do in CRM. So if you notice here, as I'm clicking on different areas of CRM functionality, the button bar at the top here looks just like any other standard Outlook toolbar, right? All the buttons look the same. The text in that's all formatted the same. So when I go from inbox to, let's say, my opportunities, it does not look any different to the user than the standard Outlook functionality. So again, it's just much easier for them to learn. If I'm in my inbox and I want to do some work in CRM, let's say I want to enter a new lead, then I can simply click on the CRM menu up here, and I can choose to enter a brand new record without ever leaving my inbox. So let's say I want to enter a new lead. I just click on lead, and it's going to bring me up the lead screen, and I would start typing in information about that lead. Another option that you have is on an email. If you get an email from a new prospect, you could convert that email right to a new lead or to an opportunity or a customer service case as well. So if you got a new email here from a new lead, I could simply just start the process of creating a lead, and notice it carries over the person's name, it carries over their email address, and so forth, and starts me in the process of creating that record in the CRM system. So one last thing I want to point out about the Outlook integration is that dashboards are also available to you in the Outlook client. So if I'm in my opportunities over here and I want to look at some dashboarding, I can simply turn on the dashboarding, which is going to show up over here to the right. And now I can do inline dashboarding right inside of Outlook without ever having to leave. So right now I'm looking at my top customers by opportunity. And if I pull that down, I might have a few other ones that I could look at. So I may want to look at our entire pipeline, for example. The other nice thing about the way that dashboards are done within Microsoft CRM is that they're all drill down compliant. So if I'm looking at the dashboard here, I can actually click on the dashboard and it will show me the data to the left here that makes up that portion of the dashboard. So that's called click. Drill down or drill through base dashboards. So I'm just going to take a quick glance over here at the questions area and see if we have any questions as we go through here. It doesn't look like we do. So again, if you do have any questions as we go through here, feel free to type them into your question area of your GoToMeeting, sorry, GoToWebinar client. We'll take those as we go and also leave some time here at the end. All right, so I want to talk for a moment about opportunity management, which is kind of where we're at here in the system anyway, so that'll work out well for us. A few things that I think is very powerful in the way that opportunities are managed within the CRM system. Opportunity can be either an opportunity that you're using to manage a quote, right? So a quote was developed in the ERP system, and it synchronized over to CRM. So we can look in here and we can see all of our customer quotes that we have open. And typically if I'm a sales rep, you know, I'm only going to see the quotes that that I have access to, and maybe the sales manager, you know, can see the quotes for all his or her salespeople that work for him. But typically as a salesperson, I'm only going to see my own quotes. So these all synchronize over to CRM from the ERP system. Microsoft CRM does have quoting abilities built into it. Where we find the challenge with that in distribution is around the pricing, you know, complexities that typical distributors have. So, in a lot of cases, the ERP system has, you know, lots of functionality built out to offer customers very specific prices on certain items and certain quantities and so forth. And that may be a little bit difficult to replicate in the CRM system. If your quoting is not that complex, there is a quoting module built right into Microsoft CRM that you might be able to leverage for that as well. So, we're talking about two different areas here. We have quotes, which are potential pieces of business, and then we have opportunities. In some cases, our customers blend those two together so that when there's a quote that comes down from the ERP system, using just a simple workflow rule, we can create a sales opportunity for that quote. Okay, so it's just a preference as to which way they'd like to manage the follow-up on that, either against the quote or have an opportunity created so it's in their opportunity manager. Or the opportunities are for business that might be a little bit longer term that's not yet at a quote stage. Okay. So whichever the case, when I'm looking at my opportunity manager, I'm looking at all the opportunities that I am working on along with the associated data, what probability we're giving it, what the estimated close date, and so forth. So if I pull up one of these, there's some great functionality in the opportunity manager, particularly regarding tracking competitors. So if I'm working this opportunity, this is an abrasives and cutting tools opportunity, and my customer is Irby Strickland. And as I'm talking to Irby, I should be asking the question, hey, Irby, are you looking at any other supplier for this purchase? He says, yeah, maybe I'm looking at General Industrial, and maybe I'm looking at Amazon Supply for this. So with a couple clicks there, I've identified and linked two competitors to this sales opportunity. And we can do this at the quote level as well. So that's giving us perspective into who we're quoting against for this business. These competitor records also can have what's called an analysis or a SWOT analysis, which just stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Somebody on your staff would typically be tasked with keeping this information up to date. So based on the market and what you're hearing from customers, what is your strength over this competitor? Where are you a bit weak? What's your opportunity to win business against this competitor? And so forth. So it's good information for the salespeople to have, as they encounter these competitors. The real nice, I think, functionality around this is that on an opportunity, there's only two outcomes. You either win it or you lose it, right? So when the salesperson goes out and marks this as won or lost, then it takes that salesperson through a wrap-up. So if I hit close as lost, then it's going to ask me, why did we lose this business? What was the actual revenue loss, and so forth. And I could even put a narrative in here, about that loss. So what it's doing is it's collecting that competitive analysis over time, and then there's some great reporting and dashboarding that you can do right in the product to analyze that. So it'd be very helpful, I'm sure, to know, what percentage of the time that you lose business or win business against Amazon Supply, and what are the reasons that you win and lose, and what are the dollars that you've won or lost with that competitor. So that's some really good reporting built right into the system around that information. So of course, your pipeline information can pretty easily be pushed up to dashboards. So if you're a sales manager and you want to get a nice snapshot, of what your sales pipeline looks like, you can go right into the product here and pull up some dashboards and be able to take a look at, what your pipeline looked like over maybe 30, 60, 90 days, and so forth. So some really nice ways that you can utilize that information. There's also some really good reporting built right into the system as well, some real nice pipeline reports. So I can pull one of those up and let it run, and we can come back and take a look at that. Just let that run. It's a very good area of the system, very powerful, and with the competitive tracking, certainly I think takes that to a whole other level. So let me just maybe point out two other things here. Here's the pipeline report that I had mentioned, and with the reporting in Microsoft CRM, it's very graphical and allows you to very easily change some grouping. So for example, I'm looking at our entire company pipeline here, which is just over $1 million. But if I want to look at this in terms of salesperson, then I can just change that grouping and rerun it. Okay, so with one click there, actually it was 2 clicks, I was able to take that report and completely change the way that the data is being displayed to me. So if I see here that Jim Jones is doing a heck of a job with pipeline, and I want to drill in a little bit and find out what's driving Jim's pipeline, I can just click on that graph, and it's going to take me out and it's going to show me all the records that make up that area of the graph. So it's showing me essentially Jim's pipeline, and I can take a quick look here and see, is there one really big opportunity that Jim's counting on to make that pipeline, and so forth. Another fantastic area of the Microsoft CRM system is the integration with Microsoft Excel. So I'm just going to hop over here for a second to the browser version here. It's a little bit easier to show the Excel integration. So what you can do is anywhere in the entire system that you have access to lists of records, what you can do is you can push that data right into Microsoft Excel pretty easily. So I'm just going to go down here and go into the quotes area, which again are, typically quotes are pushed down from the ERP system. And let's say I'm a sales manager and I want to do some analysis of our open quotes. So I just go into the quotes area. Because I'm a manager, I can see all quotes. I simply select them, and I'm going to export them to Excel. Now, there are a couple of options here. This is an extremely powerful reporting tool for you, built right into the system in the Excel integration. The first option that I have here is just a static worksheet. So I can just simply take all that quote data and push it into Excel, and it's going to give me a nice, properly formatted Excel spreadsheet. And at this point, I can go and do charts and graphs and totaling and subtotaling and all that great stuff. Okay. Or when I went out here, and I'm not sure it's going to let me do this because I am not on our network at the moment, so it may prevent me security-wise from doing this, but you can actually have it build a pivot table as you push that information over to Excel. And those of you that have used pivot tables know, how powerful they are. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export here. And let's see if it'll let me do this. So it's taking all the data, and yes, it is going to let me do that. So it's taking all the data that I chose, and it's pushing it into Excel, and it's building me a pivot table on that data. So let's say I want to analyze our quotes by salesperson. So we'll let that catch up here, syncing all the data over. And then I can simply just select the columns of data over here that I want to build the pivot on, and just tremendously powerful. I'm not an Excel expert, but I know pivot tables are very powerful. So let's go in here and we'll do it by salesperson. Actually, I don't think I pulled over the salesperson. No, I didn't. I didn't pull over the salesperson. If I did, then it would let me group it by salesperson. Right now, it's grouping it by total and then by quote number. So it just depends on what you decide to push over, but extremely powerful that you can take data literally anywhere that you have it in the Microsoft CRM system, and you can push it right into Excel and do either some simple static type worksheeting, or you can use some of the dynamic options, which, by the way, if you save those spreadsheets and after you chose one of the dynamic options, it would save the query with the spreadsheet. So the next time that you open that or click the refresh button, you would have all new data in your spreadsheet. So very, very powerful. And then I think to close things out this afternoon, we're almost reaching our end here. I just wanted to go in and talk about customer account management. So let's pull up a sample customer account here. So the information that we're seeing here is a mixture of information that the salesperson is maintaining, maybe the inside salesperson, maybe even a service person is maintaining some of this, but a lot of this is coming over from the ERP system. So if we scroll down through this, we've got some great information in here. Again, some of it being maintained manually by users and some of it coming over from the ERP system. So for example, let's say I wanted to do a quick overview of this customer before visiting them. So I want to kind of see where they're at month to date in sales versus profit. and I want to compare that maybe over last year. So I want to look at their year-to-date, kind of look at where they are full 12 months rolling in terms of sales, see if they're up or down. Want to look at any AR issues that we might have going on. So it looks like this customer is a little bit of slow pay. We've got $31 to $60 out here, as well as dollars that are over 90. So maybe I want to work that into my conversation as I meet with them. But also then I can drill into things like any of their open quotes. So I'm getting ready to go visit Bob Smith, and I want to be up to speed. So I see that we've got a quote out here. Of course, this is demo data. These quotes are a little bit old if it wasn't demo data. But I could drill into this particular quote, work that into my conversation. Hey, Bob, I see you have a quote out here, $610 for abrasives. What can we do to make that business happen here? So I can also drill into any open orders. So maybe as I'm meeting with Bob, and again, I can do all this on my mobile device as well. So I wouldn't need to have my laptop. I could be doing this on a tablet or a smartphone just as easily. But maybe while I'm meeting with Bob, he says, yeah, gee, I placed an order, a ways back here, and I still haven't received the product. So I could drill right into Bob's account here, go into the open orders, take a look, drill right into that order, get all the information about the order itself, all the way down to the line item level. So I'm able to look at, all the information about this order. It's essentially a duplicate copy of that order from the ERP system. So again, back to how people are doing that today, they're typically writing that down as a follow-up item and then having to go out and call somebody back at, headquarters and say, gee, I met with Bob Smith. He says there's an order outstanding. Can you look in the system? They look it up. So now you've, again, got two people involved. You've delayed the, the information back to the customer and essentially doubled your effort to satisfy that simple question. And then also, we have complete sales history typically being brought over from ERP as well. So this is every, item that, in every order that the customer's bought going back in time as far as maybe, you tell us to go back. A couple of years is pretty common. So if you want to go back a number of years, bringing all that data over into CRM is going to give you a lot of power here. This is also what enables you to do some of that very targeted levels of marketing that we talked about, because these sales history items go all the way to the item level. So maybe you want to execute a campaign in conjunction with a vendor to target everybody that's bought a certain product or a certain vendor line over a period of time. So because all that transactional data is in CRM, that would be a pretty simple query. It would identify all those customers that bought that certain item or vendor line, and then you could go ahead and kick out a marketing campaign to those customers. You also have some great reporting built right into the system, some great dashboarding. There's a report in here, and let's see if I can find it quickly. It's kind of a products by account report. And what that shows me is that, based on this customer that I'm currently looking at, what do they buy from us on a product level? So I can see here that, 66% of their purchases is in a certain item, which is an 8-inch by 3/4 inch fitting. Okay, so that's 66% of their purchases. If I click on that area of that chart, it's going to drill me into the orders that those items showed up on, and then show me how much they paid for each of those items that they purchased. And I could drill right into the order from here. Okay, so great reporting, great dashboarding, very good information, all at a person's fingertips, as they get ready to go in and to meet with a client to be completely up to speed, and even answer some questions, right there in front of the client with a mobile device. So we're reaching the end of our hour here. I just want to go back up here and see if we have any questions. So one question is, can you add additional fields into the pivot table? The answer is absolutely. So if I go back here and I go back to, let's say, our quotes, let me highlight these. And I'm going to choose Export to Excel. So when I choose one of these dynamic options, it's going to let me select any field from the quote that I would like when I push it over into Excel. So the field that I was missing there was the salesperson, which in the CRM world is called owner, so I can see that that's now selected. And I'll go ahead and export that. Hit save, hit open. And if we look over here now, we now have that field. So essentially that's the salesperson field. So if I want to look at quote dollars by salesperson, then with 2 clicks I've got that report. So I know that Carolyn, has $3,744 in open quotes. We know we have a grand total of $726,000 in open quotes and so forth. So the answer is absolutely you can add any field from that area of the system to push over to Excel. Any field at all in CRM. Good question. All right, so to conclude here, and again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I hope you've got some value out of the session today. And if you'd like to dig a little bit deeper into some of this, by all means, reach out. We can certainly do some one-on-one sessions to dig a little bit deeper into any area that you'd like, and maybe even talk about some of your specific business scenarios and how they might be accomplished with CRM. So 2 offers here that are pretty compelling. One is that if you come to us between now and May 10th, I know that window is closing a bit, but between now and May 10th, we can certainly set aside a CRM needs analysis session for you. And that's, sitting with a high-level person at our company, some of those I do personally, and really talking about where would CRM drive the most return on investment and provide the most impact to your organization. So we have some great, leading questions that we can ask you to start down that road, of understanding where would this technology be a great fit for your organization. So we're offering that up until May 10th. And then there are 2 offers from Microsoft that you can take advantage of. One is the Big Easy promotion. And the Big Easy promotion essentially gives you cash back from Microsoft for buying the on-premise version of Microsoft CRM. And sometimes that can be pretty compelling. I've seen those numbers get pretty high, so it really helps offset any of your implementation services that you do through a Microsoft partner like us here at Behringer. Second is the Cloud Easy promotion. I mentioned that Microsoft CRM is $44 per user per month for the online version. This Cloud Easy offers you money back for purchasing or subscribing to Microsoft CRM Online. And I can also tell you that through the end of May, because Microsoft's year ends in June, that through the end of May, they're making some pretty substantial price reductions on the online version of CRM as well. So I mentioned the $44 per user per month. That's kind of the the normal price, but they will negotiate down from that on certain deals. So reach out to us here at Behringer if you'd like some more information on that. My email is here at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to jot that down. Reach out to me directly. I'd love to talk with you further about anything that we've talked about today. One more glance over here at the question manager just to see if we have any unanswered questions here. And it doesn't look like we do. So with that, I'll go ahead and conclude today's session. Again, can't thank you enough for joining. And feel free to give me a call or reach out by email if you have any other questions or if you'd like to dig into any of these areas a little bit deeper. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful afternoon.